not do that.
So you finally returned to me, and with a guest. But first, prove yourselves worthy.
Aberoth! Face us yourself!
Entertain my dear sister for a moment.
Traveler, don't worry about me!
Such wasted potential. All of this would have welcomed you. You fight for nothing. The void hungers. Weak and worthless. You fight for nothing. See the beauty we were denied. Terra turned her back on us. The void comes.
You cannot do that.
Weak and worthless. The gods tore our world apart. They deserve their fate. Weak and worthless. Darkness reigns. We treated the world no better. Death is our legacy. Die! Void hungers. Oblivion. Weak and worthless. World called to Orbis. This is his answer. The void comes. You fight for nothing. Weak and worthless. Hope will not save you. What? Orbis, help me!
And there you go, folks. That is Aberoth done with the build as well.
This is a mercy. Shatter. Behold, the rage of winter. Shatter. Do not stand in my way. This is a mercy.
Nice, we get the upgrade. We was running this low and now I'll take this. Beautiful. Alright folks, so that is my new God of the Void God build. Brand new original build, all updated. The build planner will be in the links and description below. But what I'll do is, of course, go through top to bottom, the whole build. So we'll go for the gear, I'll go for the skills and the passives in a second. As you can see, we beat Aberoth with it already, melted him. Pretty efficient run, few minutes. We did the corruption 775 mono, super quick. You don't have to even stop with the build because it has auto cast in there, so it's amazing. And as you can see, as bosses as well as harbingers, it just absolutely melts them. Now let's go top to bottom. I guess we could start with the gear first and foremost. So I'll go through this as quick as I can. There is a lot to go through. So you can see we got Peak of the Mountain with the 4 slam, 4 to Anomaly, increased void damage, strength, endurance, elemental resistance, and you can go for the stats. And if you do have any questions, just ask on the YouTube channel itself, or just join the live streams. I stream every day. And then I'd say the next part is the amulet. So we got spell, lightning resistance, void penetration, increased damage while channeling, since we are using WARPATH, which is a channeling skill. So we will increase the damage off there. And then we also want shred armor on hit. So we have 152 included with this as well. But off the base of the amulet, we got frailty, which gives damage reduction, which is very important for higher levels. As you can see, you can get hit for thousands of damage, especially at this high corruption. And we don't have any ward, so it's a full health armor stacked build basically. And then what's most important about the build, I went for this on a other build I made similar. I used Trident of the Last Abyss. The reason why I use this, number one, nobody else really uses it. I like to make original builds. All my builds are original. I like to use original content. And I really like this weapon. It's really cool. It's different as well. But some of the main things about it are amazing. Has flat 80 melee damage. Comes with melee crit strike multiplier. So if you can get your crit chance maxed out. And it's quite easy. If you noticed, this item, Peak of the Mountain, gives you 286% increased critical strike chance. Can go to 290. So we almost got a full max god roll. But it was a 4 LP. Now, if you use Anomaly with this, you can get the bubble to give you more crit chance. So that gives us extra, 4 crits. So obviously that included with the melee critical strike multiplier. The multiplier is very high. We didn't get the highest roll on this, so we could have gone more higher crit. So if you do roll it or get this and you get close to 180, that's amazing. What I've gone for the slams on this is increase melee attack speed. Because it's a two-handed weapon, normally two-handed weapons are a lot slower, so that melee attack speed is godly. And the 9 tool attributes is amazing because the build scales off strength as well as vitality, since we are on the Void Knight class, and I'll go through all the nodes with you as well. Comes with 48 melee void damage, increased void damage. Now the secret source of the build is the reason why it does so much damage is 100% chance to cast Abyssal Echoes on melee kill. So whenever you run in the monos and we kill a lot of things, you'll just see a lot of explosions, and they pop more explosions, things die, more explosions of void damage. But if you do a melee hit on a boss or rare enemy, it says 4-second cooldown, but I've procced it, so we don't really have much of a cooldown. But basically the Abyssal Echoes will proc, so these will go off every hit we do, and then they will chain into something else, which I'll go through the skills with as well, and that's like the secret source of the build. And normally with Warpath you can go off here, which I originally was using, but this specific node says Abyssal Tempest. This consumes Abyssal Echoes mana cost. So when I had this on originally with this particular weapon, the mana used to go so low, and I've done this very meticulously so we get a perfect set of mana. So we're never below, we're never stopping, or we're never stuck. We have the perfect mana management with this, and that's why I went through everything meticulously with the build. Now, next part I would say is the void resistance is great, and the void damage leeches health on hit. So I'll go through why we've gone through this particular blessing, but that keeps our leech up, and that's why we're so tanky, and that's why we keep getting our HP back so quick as well, which is amazing. Now, you're probably aware of the ring itself, Red Ring. It's a well-known ring now with last Epoch, but we've slammed a Necrotic on there to cap all our resistances, so I'll go for that as well. But again, 5 tool attributes, so strength and vitality are great. A little bit of dexterity, attunement, can get more mana regen. And of course, it's got health regen to boost the health up. It's got mana regen, which helps out a lot. And then obviously dodge racing can be good to dodge particular big attacks. And again, at this corruption, you are getting hit for like 3,000, 4,000, sometimes 5,000 damage. A lot of damage you can hit. And also the beautiful thing about it is 10% damage less taken if you have at least 180 total attributes. And I think we're sitting on about 200 and something. So I'll go through all those towards the end just to make sure we covered everything. But yeah, that proc, so we get 10% less damage taken because we do have a total of 180 attributes on top. Now, in regards to the gloves, we've gone for the basic Swan the Erase gloves. Now, these are really awesome for a few things, and it's very meticulous why I put the build the way I did it. Now, we roll strength on there, which obviously scales with strength in general for everything for armor related, but it also scales with your Warpath and also with your Erasing Strike. And these two synergize perfect together as well. So this does big damage anyway for single target, but if you want to hit that big single target damage and get to safety, you can put this, and that's why I put this in there as well. When you're using melee builds, especially at the high levels, you can't always be around, especially when there's a lot of procs and AoE effects going on the screen, even bosses included. So if you use the Erasing Strike, not only can you do it and walk off, it will echo and do the damage, hence why I showed it in the 775 Corruption mono as well. So with this, we got again increased melee attack speed, which is amazing. So obviously synergize this, that's why we spin so fast. The more spinning we do, the more DPS we do, and that's why we do so much damage. And obviously elemental and lightning resistance is great, caps all my resistances, which I'll go through as well. Now, what's really good about these, and I find that so perfect for this type of build, if you read here, 16% more melee damage to high health enemies. So if you notice at the start of the fight, we do way more damage from the melee hits to any boss, anything, and it melts them. And then on top of all of that, what's beautiful about it is it does 16% more spell damage to low health enemies. So once we chunk them down off the first part, so we do 16% more damage at the start of the fight of every single enemy that we fight. Then when they get down to the low health, they take more spell damage. Now spell damage goes off this. So if you look here, spell as well. This is more of like a support sort of skill, but still can do damage if I explain how it works, because I would go for the skills with you. But this and this, actually no, it's just this. So this will proc off the spell, And this is why I said it's so important, and that's why the gloves are perfect. So more damage when they're high health, more damage when they're low health, and it synergizes amazingly. And they get 9 attack, increased attack cast speed, and then of course 5 to attributes give you more strength again, vitality, which scales again. Now this is absolutely amazing. What I got here. So what you want to look out for is any Sentinel Apocalypse plate of the Ox style chest piece. Couple of reasons. We get a fat chunk of armor, which is amazing. We get stun avoidance, but we've already got that with the passive as well, so we can't get stunned, which is great for, again, higher levels. So you don't get stopped, you don't get stunned, you're just like a unstoppable juggernaut, basically, just tearing for everything. And then also, if you look at the implicit, 130% increase echo damage when a skill is echoed. So hence why we do even more damage, and it's absolutely insane. We've got +4 to Warpath, so we actually got a true god roll for this. So it's a tier 7, and we got increased melee damage, which it does say it scales off here for melee damage, but we are doing void damage as well. And then on top of that, we get increased armor shred effect, which is, I'd say, is important as well, because the way I've built it, you don't proc into Warpath to shred armor, because we've got shred armor off here and the node, but we've also got armor effect is increased, meaning they'll lose armor shred. Well, they'll have armor shred on them for longer periods, meaning you can do more damage, which means you can stack up more armor shred and do even more damage, and it just synergizes so beautifully together. And then we got increased health on there, fizz res because you want that capped obviously, and then we did seal the 1 Rive, which again increased melee damage. And I did try Rive on the build originally, but again, when you get into these higher levels, higher corruption, you can't be standing still in these fights. It's not a good option because you just get one-shotted at the very, very high corruption. So Rive is such a great, amazing skill to have, but it's kind of risky at the higher corruption levels to even stand for like a second or two and try and attack something, especially when you've got a lot of spam like AoE. And like I said, if there's a lot of minions on the screen, a lot of AoE, you don't have time to stand and stop to do that one little Rive attack and then move because you're going to get hit. Whereas Warpath, at least you're channeling, and obviously we get defenses while we're Warpathing with the blessings. And we have more armor as well. And then, of course, for the belt, we've gone for Shattered Chains. Increased mana regen is ideal, I'd say, because, again, it is mana hungry. And you don't want to be stuck at mana at any point and not do any damage. I have seen some Void builds where they're using certain skills, even like Erasing Strike and Warpath and some of these extra skills, and they're kind of stuck and they're just frozen. And then you can't do anything, and you don't want to be in that situation ever. So if you noticed, in all the mono boss fights and Abrath fight, I was never stuck for mana. I never had any mana issues, so make sure you get that if you can. And then, of course, the reason why it's perfect, we get increased armor. I think I'm sitting on 60%, so it says 4,453 armor. We have melee void damage. Again, it's all to do with void, melee void damage, all stacks and scales, which is amazing. 60% increased melee damage, 5% more melee damage per stack of Doom, which is a synergetic way of getting this to work with your build as well, which I'll go through in a second. And then using a potion cleanses, stun and freeze. So we can't get stunned anyway, but if you get frozen, pop a potion, it's really good. We've also got stun immunity already. Now, this is ideal, and I did get lucky on this LP4 like a while back, because I've been playing last Epoch way before launch, a year or so, and I just really loved the game back then. So I was running very high corruption, and I was getting a lot of LP4 items as well. And what I slammed on here was 8 attunement. So that 8 attunement can go to mana regen, which is ideal again. Keep you stacked up, and obviously the strength as well, which is amazing. And then on top of that, we've got a nice little bit of health there. Keep the base health up. And of course, crit strike avoidance. You do want crit strike avoidance 100%. So you're not getting like one shot, it'll hit with big crits as well. And then 2.7 of melee damage leads to health. And 3% of void damage leads to health, and the leech rate is amazing. And also, like I said with this one, if you look, 6.1% of void damage leads to health on hit. So we didn't have to proc any points in the skill tree. I did put one in there for like more health leech, so we can have more survivability, but it's not required since we have it a lot of this anyway. And then, of course, the movement speed is amazing. And then the 18% chance to apply Doom on hit. And the reason why we do such big damage is, if you read this, Doom deals massive void damage over time. We're doing a lot of void damage anyway, so it scales with this perfectly. And increases melee damage taken by 4%. Last 4 seconds can stack up to 4 times, so that's 12% total. And then on top of all of that, we've got void penetration with Doom. And I've already got void penetration on the build with this as well, and there are some other items which I'll go through you. And then of course we've gone for the Dark Stride, which is again just synergizes perfectly with the build. I did roll I did get a slam of 14 vitality and 7 strength, which is godly, but of course you could go for higher strength if you wanted, or you know, if you get super lucky, maybe get an LP3, or even if you have an LP4, maybe just get two high slams, and that would be amazing. But we've got increased movement speed, which is amazing because we have actually got 59 movement speed, so we don't really need like any sort of lunge and dash. And I don't mind lunges on build, but again, if you're running high levels, when you lunge into certain enemies, you're stuck for that split second in an animation. You haven't got no movement and you can get one-shotted, so we don't even need it because we've got such high movement speed, which is amazing. And then we've also got Void Cleave, which we're not using, but I've got an alternate version of this build. If that's something you want as well, I've got like alternate versions with two-handed, and we can use that as well, Void Cleave, which is cool, but it's not in for this particular build, and I prefer this one anyway. It's just way more fluid as well. We're not stopping and starting, we're just blasting. And then he also has 10 melee void damage, which is amazing. But particularly if you read the next part, 0.2% increased movement speed per added melee void damage. Now, where I mentioned we got like a lot of things. Look, we got melee void damage here. We got melee void damage here. I think I've got somewhere else as well. I think it's on the skill tree. I've got it as well. So yeah, with that it scales really nice. Oh, and I've got it on my idols as well. Yeah, melee void damage. So yeah. You get it on idols too. So yeah, basically we get more movement speed, and that's the reason we're so fast, we're so zippy, we warpath really fast around the map, we have good control of ourselves as well. And then of course we've got increased void damage, which is amazing. And then on top of all of that, we got Anchor the Oblivion, which again is pretty much perfect with this, I think. And it's not the most used relic, but I think it's amazing for a lot of strength builds, and works perfect with this. So slammed a 12 strength on there, which again increases your armor as well as your DPS overall. And then we got increased void damage again, which is amazing. Endurance is 40% and endurance threshold. Now, what's really cool about it is when a hit leaves you below your endurance threshold, you are slowed and release a powerful wave of void. So again, we go more into just more void. And even if we're taking like a big hit, if you look at the Oblivion wave, devastating wave of void sent around the caster, added spell damage, so it goes off more spell damage, which again the gloves I mentioned. So even if you get an enemy at low HP and you take a big hit, you can do massive like AoE proc. It will hit them for a lot of damage, 7,000. This is off base, and it applies 3 attacks of slow to ourselves. So we get slowed, but we do a lot of damage to them, and then we can just heal up and then just get back in the game basically. So it's pretty awesome. And then obviously it comes with 13 strength as well, which is amazing on top of that. So I think I've gone over all the items now. So that's all the items covered, I believe, and we'll go through the idols real quick, then I'll go through the blessing. So very important, health regen. You want to stay topped up regardless, because obviously, like I said, if you want to run high true endgame content, you want to make sure you've got your HP going topped up back up as much as you can. And of course you can stack more HP you want. I have got the endurance fully capped at 72, and my endurance threshold is 526. However, I'll show you the skills. I'll get more when I prop a sigil, and that's the reason why I got one on here as well. But yeah, as far as idols go, increased melee void damage, which synergizes with this. Health regen, which I mentioned already. Now, where I mentioned the implicit off the top part, 130% increased echo damage when a skill is echoed. You get it on idols as well. So we double dip in with this. We got 143% increased echo damage when a skill echoes, plus 76% increased melee void damage. So not like a true god roll, but high enough, which is amazing. But of course, if you get a better roll, amazing. Rock that, and that will give you extra double dip in the damage. Of course, we want extra health, so we added more health double idol here. And this is not important, but I think it's a little tip and a little trick as well. If you are making any sort of builds in the game that don't actually have ward or anything like that, it can make a massive difference when you get ward on potion use. Now, I think 14 is a cap. So, for example, even if we just had, well, we don't actually have potions right now, but if you do have potions, you proc them and you just get a little bit of ward, and it might not be the most ideal, but it's better than when you take a big hit or you take a hit, it will take a chunk off that ward for it takes your HP. So normally if I know a big hit's coming and I missed it, I do proc like 1 or 2 potions, so it's pretty cool. We also get health in there as well. And vitality again, more HP, more scaling with the build, so I'll go through the Void Knight. And also on top of that, you got increased void damage. And then also where the increased echo damage when the skill echoes. So we got 3 of those, hence why we do so much crazy damage. It's amazing. And then we got armor shred. Now you do want about 150 armor shred ourself base. So if we got 108 from here, and then we got 52 from here, so what, 160? So let's just say, you know, we got 150. Try and get at least 150 plus, and we got 160, so we're good. And then with this one, I got more armor elemental because I wanted to cap my elemental resistance, which I have with this. So if I take that out, yeah, we're just slightly 1%, but you want to make sure your resistances are fully capped. And then finally, what's I'd say important about most Warpath builds is try and get as much area as you can. You can go close to enemies, but again, if you're in certain range of Oribis or certain boss fights, you can get proc with a lot of AoE, so you want to be as safe as you can but do as much damage. So I think this with the Warpath skill tree I'll show you in a second is the perfect amount of range. So we had this plus the increased melee void damage. Now I think I'll move the camera in a second, but we've gone over the gear, we've gone over the idols. I'm going to go over the blessings quickly as well, then we'll go over the passives and that'll cover everything for you. So in regards to this, gold, if you're using merchant skill, I think this is cool. I like merchant skill, I really love the trading system, so I like to go for gold. But these are the ones that don't affect the build, just choose whatever you want, what works best for you. Of course gloves, because we got a particular type of gloves we wanted, so I thought we'd just get this. But with this, I've tried and tested this on several different options. Now, because we got mega crits on the base weapon, I originally had the 40 heist roll. And crit was great, and it was doing good damage. And I also tried void shred resistance, which is good, but we got that on the bubble as well. But best of all, I'd say go increase void damage. Number one, we're going to get better life leech, more survivability, and we'll get more flat damage for everything as well, which is amazing. And also, you may have seen this particular note. You cannot leech health from critical strike. The way I've got the build is, we don't always do crit strikes anyway, so we are getting HP back all the time. However, when we use Anomaly bubble, we do get a lot of crits. But we override that by getting life leech off the void damage itself, not the crit. So that doesn't really matter too much, but you just be careful when you're building, how you're building, because you might make some things not work for your build, so just make sure you look out for that stuff. And also on top of that, we've gone for mana, because again, we want to have enough mana pool to have fun with it, and not be stuck for any mana restrictions whatsoever. But we're 3 off the max roll, so only 3 more. So I think 85 and above is perfectly fine. Increase two-handed, yeah, so just pick whatever you want out of this. Now, crit strike avoidance, I mentioned, we've got that 117, so very important. So as you saw, I got it off the ring here, so we got 48 here, and then of course we got 1 off the blessing, percent off the highest roll, but we got, as long as you get over 100, you're fine. This again is irrelevant, pick whatever you want. And then this one, as you saw, I ran it with the very lower one at 48, and I just got lucky on stream. I was looking to get a higher roll, which we got, which is perfect. So we now have got 52. But I'd ideally say try and go for anything 50 above, if you can, as much as you can. Extra armor, more tankiness, more survivability. And then finally on this one's very important, where I mentioned the channeling. And using Rive could be one thing, but if we've got a lot of armor already, while we're spinning to winning, we also get additional armor on top, which is amazing. So I would probably go anywhere between over 600 and above. Obviously, I could get probably a better roll in this, but I'm very comfortable at 612 at the moment, so I'm more than happy with this. And I'm doing several other builds, so I got a lot of builds coming out again, all at high-end game, very original builds, which are awesome. So they do take time, but yeah, I'll keep this for now. But on your own, if you do get over 600, amazing, and just try and get the best roll you can for yourself. And what we'll do now is we'll go over the skills, and then we'll go over the passives, and I'll move the camera just so you can get a full breakdown of everything. But before I do, let me just double check. I might be okay. Yeah, so the camera is in the way of some, so what I'll do is I'll move the camera quickly over, or I'll move this up, and pow. Here we go. So as far as skills go, we've got the Warpath off base, and there's a couple of things I went through already. So you want to go Quicksilver Wind, movement speed, maximum, more movement speed, more DPS, more survivability, And we got area, so it covers a little bit more area, so you're in a safer zone. And we've gone over here, 5. Warpath does more, especially with the two-handed as well, doubles. And this, again, is amazing. So Warpath deals more damage in larger area while wielding a two-handed weapon. So we're wielding a two-handed. So this area, with this area, plus that 20% is why we do such a large area, and we're safe. And we can keep to that as well. And channel cost is important because you want to keep your mana down. So with this, it doesn't really cost me any sort of mana that I can't recover quick enough to get back. So make sure whatever you get, just make sure you get the right balance. So you can tweak it to how you want to play because everyone plays different. But just make sure you cover this so you're not really using much mana and you're kind of covered. And then of course we're going for this reckless spin. So the channel cost is even less. But we do have some elemental resistance taken off. But again, I'll go through that with the build with you and why I've chose stuff which covers that anyway. And then this is amazing. I did try and test this with different nodes, but this one again, melee void damage, which again scales I showed you, but it doubles with a two-handed as well. This just causes the mega damage. And then of course this causes the spinning to increase void damage and echoes as well, which does more damage. But also if you read here, global increase void damage, so which is phenomenal. And then of course this changes physical damage to void damage, so it gets converted. And it also has a chance to inflict time rot, which we also have on our tree at 50%. So this does more damage, and then time rot does more damage, and then it all scales together nicely. And then we got 3 of this as well, which is more of the deep. So Warpath hits deal more damage against enemies with stack of time rot. So we got a high amount of doing time rot on them, and then because we apply time rot on them, we do an extra 15 on top of that %. So it's amazing. Now this is done very meticulously. Again, I've tried and tested several setups for this, and this is why I find this is a perfect one right now. Yeah, so let's go to it. So over here we've gone for 1 of 5 for the verbal reverberation. So it deals more spell void damage. We have a decent amount of spell damage anyway, but this is really cool. So whenever it says directly using Abyssal Echoes grants you nether coating, which grants it increased attack speed, melee and throwing attacks, causing you to deal more damage to blinded enemies. We do cause blind over here. So when we use Abyssal Decay, we cause blind. And it has increased duration. Now, when we're fighting bosses, normally it automatically procs or anything in the map. So even though it says meticulously directly using, when we're using it off the spear, it procs. The nether coating always procs 24/7. So as long as we're spinning, we proc it. So this synergizes with this, and these work really good. The synergy is amazing. We also get armor shred stacks as well, which again causes more armor shred, lets you do more damage, and obviously we got the armor shred effect, which is also another bonus. We've got it on the chest piece, but also got it on here, which is amazing. Now I've tried it without this, and I found a massive difference. When there's a cooldown, it does have stops and starts where the abyssal echoes appear, but with this on there, it doesn't have any stop. So hence why you see, when we're spinning through the maps, you just see constant explosions of void damage, which is the Abyssal Echoes. But if you take this off, it has a delay, so it doesn't proc as much. I tried it without it, I tried it with it, and it's just night and day. But again, build how you want to build, and just try what works best for you and what you've got at the time, and it should work. But I definitely recommend having this on to do more procs and more damage. This covers more area, which is amazing. Now, this is really cool. So the Abyssal Echoes can chain additional time. So whenever it procs, we're doing additional chains. So we're doing more damage, more DPS. And then I did try putting 5 and 5 in here as well. Now it says Echoed casts deal more damage, multiplicative with other modifiers, right? So it says Echoed. But on here it specifically says Abyssal Echoes cast this way can chain as normal. So we do get the additional chains, but cannot cause repeated echoes. So I tried it with it, and it does good damage with it. So it might be bugs. It still does work with it from some of the testing I've done. But then other times, I just did the additional, and it still worked anyway. So even if you get an extra Abyssal Echoes, you can put more into this if you want. And you can just proc it on the map, and you can manually proc it as well. And it does big damage anyway. But because I've done additional, it works perfect. So I tried it 5 out of 5, and it did good burst damage. But then it wouldn't always proc. But then I did it with this one, and then it did consistent more damage. So I went with this one, so it just works out better in general. And then this is pretty awesome as well. So if you noticed, I only got 1 sigil with this Soliloquy. And with this, if you notice when you channel this with Warpath, it says you lose elemental resistance. So with this, we get additional fire, we get additional void. So we do get a lot more in here, have that covered. And the other bonuses we got covered as well. But this, we get endurance threshold, so we get additional 75. This one, if you take a big hit, that takes a big chunk out your HP. The sigil will get consumed. So we always have it on because it's easy to manage because we only have one. If I've tried it with 3 or 4 before and it just doesn't work. It takes too much mana of your mana. And the way we want the build is just want it to run flawlessly and smoothly. So with one, it's perfect. We take a big hit, it disappears. Press your button to reproc it. And because it's auto cache, you don't have to stop and start, which is amazing. So I always have this on and it's just absolutely perfect with the build. And again, we increase the threshold by having one of these. We increase our survivability with this. And we also get extra healing, mana efficiency. I've messed around with many nodes, but I found this to be a perfect setup. We also get additional damage as well. So we get additional 10 on this. And then we get cast speed and heal amount, which is amazing. And this is the insta-cast. Costs slightly more mana, but there's no cooldown pretty much, since the cooldown is quite low anyway. And we can insta-cast it. So we don't have to stop and start. We don't have to worry about stopping, getting hit. We can use it while moving and warpathing as well. Now this is awesome. Word of power. So you deal increased melee damage for 3 seconds if you cast Sigil of Hope. So you just proc the Sigil, get a massive bump global melee damage, 150%, which is amazing. And then that's why you see us do a massive increase and a bump of a damage. Now, Erasing Strike, a couple of reasons we got this, and it also synergizes with the build. You can get big damage anyway, so it does good base damage, good for what I said. You hit it at the start of a fight, you then slow the enemy, so you can go into here, more melee damage versus damaged, because you're already hitting them with other procs. We get more damage over here in Kill Threshold, which we have on the Warpath as well. And we do additional echoes, so again, you can hit a target, walk off, and it will smack the Shades of Erebus or Aberoth or any boss or someone there, and you can walk to safety while it's proccing. It also does slow chance as well, so if you see me use it at the start of the fight, it's a great way to slow an Exile Mage or any sort of moving target that moves around pretty quick. And then you hit him with this, hit him with the buffs, then just spin to win and you just kill him. And then this also scales melee to slow, so if you already slow him, you do even more damage as well. And we got melee void damage, spell damage in here, double with a two-handed weapon, which is amazing. We've already got crits guaranteed with the build anyway, so a bit more base crit is amazing. Now we do big damage, so we got crit multiplier going on, since we've got a lot of void flat, high crit chance anyway, and then crit multiplier is amazing. So that stack that with the other crit multiplier does big damage. Now this is very important. So Erasing Strike, critical strikes have a chance to grant you Void Essence, which grants you 15% increased Void damage, so again scales the Void damage, increased melee damage, and 10% reduced stun duration, which we don't get stunned anyway, so that's fine, but we can guarantee we're going to crit. So whenever we use this, we're always going to crit, we're always going to proc it, and basically it synergizes with a node in the tree, which will be here, the Void Well. So while you have 3 or more Void Essences, if you drop below 0 mana, you consume 1 Void Essence, set your mana to 30% of your maximum mana pool. So if for any reason we did ever get super low, we'll get our mana back. And that's why I said we're never out of mana with the build. It's just that godly. And it runs really super smooth. So that synergizes with that. And then finally, we've gone for the Anomaly, of course. So this is amazing for a couple of things. We've got a nice area, so we've got a nice AoE when we bubble them. And what it does is a combo skill that first sends enemies forward in time by 5 seconds. Reactivate the skill to bring those enemies back to your timeline. And we also proc a few effects with this. So we've got instacast, which again, you don't want to do manual casting because you can't really afford to if you're playing higher endgame levels. So you want to instacast it, so whenever you're moving, you're super safe. On top of that, we have a cooldown reduced a little bit, so we got it at 13.5 as it says here. But what's amazing about it is, when we do the time bubble and hit an enemy, we apply time rot, which as you saw earlier, once we apply time rot, we do more damage. They take damage anyway over time. And also we got immediacy, so with this, even if you was running a bit low on HP, if you proc this can actually do damage to them and cause you to gain more HP back from the void, so you get your health life leech with this, so it's just amazing to have that on there. And then what's cool about this, Anomaly leaves time behind a bubble of 5 seconds, which slows enemies, which I mentioned about the Erasing Strike, and Void Resistance, which again, we got Void Pen anyway. But what's the bonuses we get? We get additional attack speed again, which is mega more damage, more DPS. And also we get additional duration. And we also get opportunity to cast it on ourselves. Now I ran it without this, so you could cast a bubble and move towards it. But it's not always ideal. So the way I've done it is we cast it on ourselves. And whenever we move, it stays on us. And it's absolutely amazing. So no matter what we do, we can't miss the bubble. So we're always proccing ourselves. Now, this is the most beautiful one about it, I'd say. Time Bubble grants you and your allies increased critical strike chance while it's in its area. So, if you synergize the crit chance of this, which is 286%, and then you add on the additional, this is why I said we're always guaranteed critting. So, even without it, we're not always critting on save, but as soon as we hit the anomaly, we're doing mega crits and damage, and that you could use that while using a raising strike to the guaranteed crits, which I mentioned, and everything else is just insane. So that's a massive buff for your crit chance. Now, what we'll do is we'll go over the passives, and I think that covers everything. And if I missed anything, just post in the comments below. But I will leave a full build planner in the links below as well, and I think I've covered everything anyway. Now, off the base tree, we wanted as much, again, HP as we can and health regen for the survivability, as I mentioned. But we're not losing out on damage with it. We could have gone for this, but we already have our resistances covered, so there's no point in proccing something that we're going to have a waste on, and we needed HP. You can't really go under like 2k, just over 2k in these high levels. It's just not viable. You just can't. You're gonna die too quick, basically. So we wanted an ideal amount of HP and health regen. Increased damage is flat. Now again, I could have scaled more off the strength of this, but again, like I said, what I found is what does more damage. The reason why we're doing so much damage, it says 35% increased damage with this and stun avoidance. So we've already hit the cap of stun avoidance, which I mentioned. So we got stun immunity, which is amazing. And we got stun avoidance on there, but we got increased flat damage, which does more damage overall from our testing. And with this, we got armor clad, so we got more armor, which is amazing. And again, we got 10% damage reduction from this as well, which is absolutely beautiful. Now, the Void Knight tree is your main base tree, so you gain 1% more melee void damage, multiplicative with other modifiers per 3 vitality. So I mentioned why vitality was key. We've got 61 vitality, so we hit the pretty much perfect number for it to proc into nicely. And then your melee attacks, throwing attacks, void spells have 10% chance to repeat it by echo 0.5 seconds later, which is great, and we'll go into this, which gives more chance to do that. But we've got 5 out of 6 for temporal corruption, so we got extra void flat damage, which is amazing. We've got increased void damage. We're not doing physical, but void, anything with increased damage, void damage, flat void damage is amazing, so we've gone for this. And whereas I mentioned earlier, we don't really need the life leech, but I'll put one in here anyway, just to make sure we are comfortable, because we are doing a lot of void damage all the time, and we want to make sure we've got good survivability. So you could take this out if you wanted to and proc it somewhere else, but I ideally just wanted it in there because I wanted to make sure it covered all angles. And that's what a true God build is for me. Godly damage, godly defense, and it covers everything for you. Now this is very important, void corruption. So critical multiplier per point spent in Void Knight. So we've got 78 points in here, so that's 78 multiplier on top of the other multiplier on top of the other multiplier for raising strike, hence why we do so much big damage. And we got the crit chance covered as well. And then we got more melee void damage, which I told you synergize off the boots, which is amazing. And then, of course, we're never going to skip out an extra strength when possible and HP, so this is a no-brainer. And you could put this 1 point into there if you wish, or if you can't proc up to the tree, you put it in there for more flat damage or flat damage here. And then this is amazing one as well. So increased melee void damage, a fat chunk of 25% is amazing, plus the kill threshold at 10%. So if you notice, we kill anything when it gets to 10%, it insta gets killed, just like that. Alakazam, it's gone. And then we've got Vitality in here, 1 again, scaling and a bit more HP. Now this is very important. Rot Grip, the time rot I mentioned before, the additional ways of gaining it with the Anomaly and the other skill tree node. But this gives you 50% as well base. So this is amazing. And because we're always afflicting time rot, we're always doing void damage, we always got HP coming back our way as well. And then of course we got this Echoing Strike, so you got a higher chance to be echoed. So there's 10% here. 5 out of 5. Mana regen, this is ideal at 8. I don't think it'd be good to go any lower. I think you should definitely keep it where you're at, the way you got it right now, and I think it works perfect. And also this one, Eternal Form. So Vitality, increase health, 20%. Again, more HP, more survivability. You have additional health per point of Vitality. We got a lot of Vitality. We get more health. Amazing. And then we got 10 out of 10 for this. So again, increased melee attack speed. Time rot chance goes up even more. And echo chance as well. Just perfect. And then increased void damage flat. Amazing. And movement speed is amazing. Now, I mentioned this earlier. You have a chance to gain void essence on kill, which is great. But with the erasing strike, we can do it just without having a kill. So if it's a boss, you're not going to be able to kill the boss and then proc it. So with the erasing strike, you don't need it, and you're good to go from here. And then finally, we got the Avatar of Regret. So we've got additional echo chance on top of that, hence why we're doing so much echo. Now, the reason why we've gone into the Paladin tree is amazing. We got attunement, which again, more mana regen. We also covered the elemental resistance, so we're fully capped. And then on top of all of that, we get additional health, plus healing effectiveness, and that's what gives you the option for Sigils of Hope. So you only need 15 points in there. Sigils of Hope is just amazing, and it synergizes perfectly with the build. So that is it, folks. I think that covers everything. In general, I don't think we need to cover anything else at all. But again, links will be in description below. Just before we go though, I'll go over the stats quickly. 61 vitality, 92 strength, 24 dex, 24 intelligence, attunement 37, health 2310, health regeneration 48, 59% movement speed, mana 312, mana regen 12.3. All resistance is capped, and I'll just go over the sigil. So once I put the sigil on, 152 fire resistance, 107 lightning, 77 cold resistance, 93 physical, 78% poison resistance, 103% necrotic, 167% void resistance. Armor is 4,453, says 60% total. Stun avoidance 1,352. Dodge rating 4%. Ward retention 96%. And that should be everything covered for you. And yeah, of course, crit strike avoidance is 117. And endurance is 72%. Endurance threshold is 526. So there you go, folks. That is the God of the Void build covered for you. So yeah, links will be in the description below. I'll include a full build planner for you anyway. But if you have got any questions, like I said, just post in the comments on the YouTube channel below. Or I stream every day on Twitch. But I do stream multiple games. So I stream Marvel Rivals. Obviously, I stream Last Epoch. I stream Monster Hunter. I do God builds for those games as well. And I do a lot of content daily. But yeah, just join the live stream if you've got any questions. It doesn't matter what game I stream. You can always ask me any questions there. And if you can't make it to the streams, just post in the YouTube comments below. But apart from that, wherever you are, have a good morning, have a good night, have a good evening. I will catch you on the next stream. Take it easy. And peace out.